Walk through almost any modern garden and, well, you will see the same reaction when this plant appears. It is pulled, sprayed or cursed as a sign of neglect. Yet for centuries this weed was not treated as an enemy. It was treated as a signal, a medicine, and most importantly, a soil builder. Ancient farmers and early horticulturists understood something modern gardening culture forgot. Certain weeds appear not to steal from soil, but to repair it. Among them, the dandelion stands as one of the most misunderstood plants still growing under our feet. This is not folklore. It is functional ecology, and it still works. Why dandelion thrived where crops struggled. Long before lawn culture existed, dandelions spread across disturbed ground, compacted paths, exhausted fields, and animal-heavy grazing areas. Their presence was not random. Dandelions evolved to survive where soil structure had collapsed, and nutrients were locked away beyond the reach of shallow-rooted plants. Their defining feature is the deep taproot, often reaching far below the root zone of most vegetables and grains. This root penetrates compacted layers, fractures hardpan, and accesses minerals that erosion and overuse have pushed downward. You know, ancient farmers noticed that where dandelions grew thickly, soil conditions were changing. Now, here's something interesting. This weed, the dandelion, actually mines nutrients that, well, modern fertilizer just can't replace. The dandelion taproot acts as a sort of biological drill. It pulls calcium, potassium, iron, phosphorus and trace minerals upward from the deep subsoil layers. These nutrients then accumulate in the leaves and stems, and when the plant dies back, or is cut and returned to the soil, those minerals are released exactly where crops need them most. Synthetic fertilizer, you see, only feeds plants temporarily. Dandelions, on the other hand, feed the soil permanently. This process is, well, slow, stable and self-regulating, which is exactly why traditional agriculture valued it. Why ancient growers did not wage war on dandelions. Historical records from medieval Europe and early colonial farms show that dandelions were tolerated in fields and garden margins. They were harvested for food and medicine, but, you know, they were also allowed to complete their growth cycle in fallow areas. Farmers observed that soil where dandelions had grown became easier to work, retained moisture better, and supported stronger crops the following season. This was not accidental. It was ecological succession in action. You know, the weed was performing unpaid labour. Now, let's talk about how dandelions improve soil structure year after year. As the taproot grows and eventually decomposes, it leaves behind these vertical channels in the soil. And, well, these channels become highways for water infiltration, earthworm movement, and root exploration by future crops. In heavy clay or compacted garden beds, this effect is, honestly, quite dramatic. Soil that once shed water begins to absorb it. Roots that once stalled at shallow depths suddenly grow deeper. You know, dandelions do what mechanical tillage often fails to do without causing any damage. So, why do modern gardeners misread what weeds are telling them? Well, weeds are actually indicators, not invaders. Dandelions, for example, often show up in compacted, calcium-deficient or biologically inactive soils, and just removing the plant doesn't really fix the condition that caused it to grow in the first place. These days, modern gardeners see the symptom and attack it. But, ancient growers would read the message. When dandelions dominate, the soil is asking to be rebuilt, not sterilized. How to use dandelions deliberately as a soil tool. Instead of eradicating dandelions everywhere, allow them to grow in non-crop areas, paths, orchard edges, or sections of tired beds. Let them develop full taproots. When flowering begins, cut the plant at ground level and leave the foliage on the soil surface as mulch. This returns mined nutrients directly to the topsoil. Over time, repeat growth and cutting cycles accelerate soil improvement without disturbing structure. For gardeners who compost, dandelion greens make exceptional compost activators due to their mineral density. How this practice fits into regenerative gardening. Regenerative systems prioritize soil biology, structure and long-term fertility. Dandelions align perfectly with these goals. They work without fuel, chemicals or machinery. They operate during periods when beds might otherwise sit idle. This is why no-dig and permaculture systems increasingly tolerate or even encourage dandelions as part of a balanced ecosystem. The past and the future quietly agree on this one. Ever wondered why dandelions disappeared from respectable gardens? Well, the shift came with lawns, aesthetics, and chemical control. Uniform grass became a symbol of order, and any broadleaf plant really became a threat to that image. Utility was replaced by appearance. In removing dandelions, modern landscapes removed one of the most effective soil repair mechanisms available. The soil, honestly, paid the price. What this weed teaches about resilience and patience, well, it's truly remarkable. Dandelions do not rush, They prepare the ground for what comes next. They restore before they produce. And they invest underground long before anything appears above the surface. Ancient farmers valued that philosophy because, honestly, it mirrored survival itself. If soil is treated as a living system rather than a surface to dominate, weeds become allies instead of enemies. If this kind of grounded, historically proven plant wisdom matters to you, do consider subscribing to Botanical Bliss. Share this guide with gardeners ready to stop fighting their soil and start working with it, and help revive knowledge that once kept landscapes fertile without force.